Okay, hello everyone. My name is Timothy Lee Grant, and it is Christmas break. Our company is requiring all of the employees to zero out our vacation time. So that means I am actually out for the rest of the month. It is December 11th right now, and so I have the entire rest of the month out. And now what that means is it is time to work on our projects. It's time to go hard on that, see how much we can learn, how much we can improve, how much we can move forward. All of that fun stuff, all of the stuff that we were doing previously, but kind of part-time. We were doing it going to work and then coming home and then doing our projects and then over the weekend part-time work. Now we're transitioning. We're changing it. We're changing it. It's going to be full-time now. So for the rest of this month, we're going to go full-time. Try to just go as hard as we can. Let's just get started. All right. A wonderful opportunity, right? We're able to learn a lot. Hopefully. Okay, so we have this project here, and now what we're doing is we are trying to build out a pipeline to be able to serve ads. So the client requests an ad, and I get information about this client, who they are, whatever information it is. And I have a database of it's an SQL database, and I also have a Redis cache. But I have an SQL database of all of these different ads and their associated campaign, or I should say campaign, and then the associated ads because it's a one to many relationship. So okay, great. Now what my project needs to do is we need to say, okay, we have all of these ads. Which one do we actually select? So that's going to be the question. Now, what we are doing in today's video is going to be actually looking at that algorithm, and it is called the bid engine, right? So bid selector. So that's what we're going to be creating, and we're going to be going through this trying to understand what it's doing, how it's working, and then following this roadmap, which is first get something that actually works, build a minimal viable product, and then while we're building, we learn, try to get a high level overview of what it is, how it's working, the different components, where are we a little bit confused about, but at least build it, okay? Then once it's built, now it's time to play around with it. Now it's time to make it more complex. Now it's time to see, hey, can we add a new element to it, a new component to it? Can we make it do something else slightly different? And by doing that, we're going to be able to really get a more in-depth understanding instead of kind of just following along. Now we're an active builder, you know. So that's kind of how we're doing this. Okay, so we need to create something called source bid engine services and now bid selector. So source bid engine here, and then in services, okay. So do we already create a services? Yes, we did. So we have one service is that campaign cache. That's what we actually built last time. The campaign cache. And now what we need to do is inside of services, we want this bid selector. So it's going to be another service. So bid selector.cs. Okay. So here is our bid selector. And another thing that I'm going to be looking at is, okay, well, this bid selector is within the services. So how is this entire project structured? And another good thing about doing your personal projects is it gives you an opportunity to be able to try to move in the direction that you're hoping to learn, as opposed to if you are given a project and you have to do that specific project. And for example, if I am needing to do an embedded systems project, which is what I do at work, embedded systems, you're not going to be able to have much leeway in, okay, well, I'm really curious about building X or Y or learning Z, whatever it is. But when we're doing the personal projects, you are able to do that. And one of the things is that when I was going to school and now at work, there's not much large scale, like projects where it's multiple files doing multiple things, and you kind of, how do you organize all of that? So that's an interesting question. I have this service folder. Well, okay, why did I put both of these in here? Obviously, I understand that they are, um, I understand the English of services, okay? So they are providing some service. Models is going to be how you model the database, right? And that's what we see. We have bid request and campaign, but why is bid request here? So that's another thing that eventually I want to look into. So let me bring this over here, and then I can exit out of these ones. Okay, so we are going to, I'm just going to put it here so we can see it. So using, and then bid in engine dot models. Okay, so what is this? Let's make sure that we always remember what we're doing, not just typing things. So bid engine models. So this gives us access to both of these things, which is the request item here, meaning this is going to be the actual request which we get in for an ad, right? So we have the user ID, that is going to be the person or client which is trying to give us an ad, or trying to request an ad. The placement ID, so this is like what type of ad, essentially. The country that they come from, and then the device which they are on. So this is the information that we have about them. Going forward in the future, what I'm probably going to do is have something like this. Like public int age, like this. Okay, have something like that, like this. Okay, and the reason why I'm thinking that I'm going to have something like this is, well, with this bid request, you're actually going to get a lot of other information about the user. And that's obviously an assumption that we have this. But if, let's pretend we're YouTube, okay? The person signs in, they put in their date of birth, so we know how old they are. And then based off of, they might put in their gender, they might put in their other information, we can capture that. But then in here we would also be able to have assumptions. And then what I'm thinking we could also do is have something like public and then assumed, let's just say, let's say assumed gender, and then I'll make a comment about what I'm meaning by this. So we have our getter and our setter like this, okay? And this is going to be a string. Okay, fine. And could be null. Yes, okay. So this is what I'm meaning. So I am using the term assumed gender to indicate that the user did not explicitly give this information, but through the algorithm of observing the user's behavior such as other watched videos, comments, etc., it is guessed it is guessed that the user has a gender of this. Okay. And this could also have some kind of like probability of how strongly you think that this person is going to have the gender. Like how confident are you? So maybe this wouldn't be a string, but it would be more of like a dictionary, and it would be a string and int. So now maybe actually let me change that. Let me say, instead of this, I'm going to copy this and say something like this. Assumed gender is going to be a dictionary. Okay. A dictionary with the key of a nullable string, and value is going to be an int. Okay. Now I can say I am creating a dictionary which gives the gender and the associated confidence of that guess. Something like this. Okay, this is a very long way of saying this class right here gives me the information of the user. So I have their specific ID, the like type of ad which is being requested. That's specific to the actual request, but it's part of that. The country code of where they're coming from, the device type, and all of this. And then we'll have personal information down here as well. Okay. And then we have the bid response. So this allows us to give a campaign ID, an ad ID, the actual content of the ad, the bid price, and then our confidence at how well this ad matches the user. Okay. All right, so we're using this namespace, and that's what it allows us to do. Now we're going to create our own namespace. So namespace, and it looks like Mr. Copilot is here. Okay, there we go. So bid engine dot services. Okay, so second thing that I notice is we have bid engine services. That is the name of the file, and that is the same thing which is in here, right? Namespace bid engine services. Yep. Cool. So we have, it's in the same namespace, so we also have access to that. Now, here we go. Let's look at this public class bid selector. Okay, so let's read this summary and see what is it trying to do. What do we want to do with this class? This one is water, this one's coffee. So okay, so what does this do? Core bidding algorithm selects winning campaign. So algorithm logic. All right, so we're going to select the winning campaign. It doesn't say winning ad though. Did you notice that? It didn't say select the winning ad. It says select the winning campaign. So number one, filter all active campaigns. Okay, well, we did that in the last video. Do you remember in the last video, we actually went and made a method which will search the Redis database, the in-memory Redis database, and be able to get that quickly. Okay. Number two, filter campaigns that match targeting rules. Okay. So we have targeting rules. That's another element or table which we modeled with Entity Framework, that allows us to be able to determine which let's actually just go and look at that. Let's see. Would it be in here? I don't think so. Targeting rules. Okay, yeah, it is. So we have the ID, the campaign ID, the rule type, rule value created at, and campaign. So this is kind of modeling the table for campaign rules. So I'm guessing this is going to be the type of ad which we want, and this one is going to be the value at which they're willing to pay, possibly. Okay. So after we do that, filter campaigns that have budget available. So we need to eliminate the campaigns that have already gone over budget or are outside of the lifetime scope, or budget, I should say. Then select campaign with the highest CPM bid. How do we get that CPM bid? We'll have to figure that out. Return winning campaign and random ad from it. So we're just taking so we're actually bidding from the campaign and then just randomly selecting an ad. Okay, so that's how they're going to set this up. And we're going to follow the way which AI decided that it was going to set this up, and then later we are going to do it ourselves, or like change it and see how can we improve things, how can we play with it. So one thing that we might do is select the best ad from the best campaign. So instead of looking at all, let's say that we have 100 campaigns and each campaign has 100 or 1,000. Let's say that we have 100 campaigns and each campaign has 1,000 ads. Maybe that's a little bit unrealistic, but it kind of gets my point across. Instead of searching 100,000 ads, what I'll do is apply a greedy algorithm, and it won't be the optimal one. But I'll apply a greedy algorithm that says I'm going to pick the best campaign. So I go through the 100 campaigns. Then, once I found the best campaign, I'm going to pick the best ad from the best campaign. So now my search space is only 1,000. I don't have 100,000. So I need to search 100 and then I need to search 1,000. That's actually very doable. That means that in total, I've searched through 1,100 elements instead of 100,000 elements. Okay. So return winning campaign and random ad from it. Okay, so we're gonna come here and I'm just gonna copy and paste that into there, and then I'm gonna say thinking about this for future improvements, I will want to create a greedy algorithm which selects for the best ad within the best campaign, not the absolute optimal best ad, or a random ad which is currently being implemented as of now. Okay, so that's kind of a note to myself. And now let's actually just start looking at this and figure out how we're going to do this. Okay, so private read only campaign cache. Okay, so campaign cache, what are we getting when we do this? So it's in our namespace of models. Okay, so let's go to models and campaign here. Okay. Campaign cache, where is that going to be? So I thought it was in like service. Oh, but that would make sense because that's also in my namespace, right? And there it is. Okay. So I'm doing something which is within my own namespace, so I have access to it. Because my brain was just hyper fixated on the fact that, oh, we included the models, therefore that must mean that it's in the models. And no, that doesn't mean that because we have other files within our own namespace. And so we have this campaign cache. Okay. So what is this campaign cache and how is it uh what it when we declared that variable just now, and we actually have it up right here too. Private read only campaign cache and now this local variable cache. What is this? What methods are available to us? How might we be able to use it? Let's figure that out. Okay. So we have access to a Redis database, and we have access to that SQL database. Okay, well, that's actually probably the only information that I really need to know right now. And this is the entire thing is one big class, right? Yep. Okay, so there we go. So we have, awesome. This is the class that we were implementing yesterday. And I wanted to verify that it's all of it. So we have the ability to get active campaigns. We have the ability to invalidate a campaign. We have the ability to, get a campaign from this specific ID. And we have this constructor. So the constructor gives us access to a Redis, to the SQL, and to just its specific logger. Okay, there we go. So that's what we are. Whoa. Okay. There we go. So that's what we're doing when we have this, and now I can put this back up there. All right, so we have this now. Awesome. Let's try to find the second one. So private, and then read only as well. Okay, so we'll look at this in a second, like this. And we just put the exact same thing in here. So bid selector. So we are creating this logger, and we've seen this logger character in other files, and we just follow this same format here, which is private and then iLogger, so interface of a loggers for customized for this class. And now we have this, and we're able to essentially do print statements. We've never actually used it, like I've never printed with it, but I'm seeing that we're using it for debugging and just printf statements. So that's kind of what we're doing with it. Well, I'm going to see, okay, well, in the future, once we actually get this project kind of up and running a little bit better, all right, now it's time to actually figure out how is it working? But that's not kind of our concern right now. Our concern is trying to get everything kind of situated together. So, okay, we just create that. That's fine. We're not going to look too much into it. This one I do have questions about. This one right here. So let's type it out. Private read only. Now random, okay, underscore random like this is equal to new like this. Okay. So I'm going to copy this and we are going to put it into here. Okay. What does this do? How are we able to create a new object, but we don't specify what new object we want? Does it know from the type on the left hand side of the equation? So what I'm trying to figure out here, we'll let it do its thinking, but I'm just doing new, and I'm not passing in any parameters here. So does it know that, okay, well, I want a new random, whatever a random is? Maybe later. All right, so private read-only random. Random is a class in .NET that generates pseudo-random numbers. Yep, that I say yep like I already knew that, but I mean Python has something similar. Other languages have something similar. So yeah, that okay, cool. Generates random numbers. Random is a private field. Yes. New is shorthand syntax introduced in C# 9. Okay. So this is something new specific to C# 9 called target typed new expressions. So something that I am seeing is that there is a little bit more variation within the different versions of languages than I previously thought. You know, normally what I do is I just get on and start doing whichever language I'm working on. So Python is Python. Obviously, Python, there's a difference between like 2 and 3. Those are fairly significant. But normally I just say, okay, I'm doing it in Python or I'm doing it in C. And I'm not worried about like, okay, well, this version or that version. But C# seems to be a little bit more like their version types actually have a little bit more leeway between one to the other. Or not leeway, but like new features that allow you to do things differently from one version to the other. So it is something that is like, oh, okay, well, I see. All right. So called target typed new expressions. So that's what it's called, target typed new expressions. How does new know what object to create? Normally you'd write it new random. Yep, that's something that I like. New, either pass it in as the parameter or say new and then the actual item. With target typed, the compiler looks at the declared type on the left, yep, and infers, awesome. Okay, so the compiler enforces type safety. It knows random must be a number. When you write new, it substitutes the correct constructor call for that type. If the type had required constructor parameters, you'd still need to pass them. So random and then seeded. Okay. So if we're creating a new okay, so let's talk about that. If we're creating a random, so the compiler knows that we're creating a random object. So that means an object which generates a random number, okay? Just like we are actually doing. We're creating this class or object of type random. Now, if we wanted to seed it, okay, we could actually put a seed in here. So I think I actually could put in like a 6 right there. And now it would just be a seeded number. We might do that later, but we don't need to do that right now. So int value random.next. Okay, so now we can just use it. Okay, so far so good. Let's keep going. Public. So now the constructor, so bid selector, okay, like this and like that. All right, so we have more of this dependency injection stuff. Once again, I'm not going to be cache and I logger. Okay. And this is going to be of type bid selector. Okay. So as I said previously, right now I am not going to be looking at the dependency injection part of this. That's going to be something that I am going to try to unravel once we get a working version. And once it is working, then I'm going to say, okay, now it is finally time for us to go in, investigate it. What is the dependency injection actually doing? How are these parameters actually being passed in? And then we can get a better holistic understanding of how it's all working. If I'm trying to work on it and understand it right now, it's just going to kind of spin my wheels. I'll be learning, yes, but I won't be learning the most efficiently. So I'm just going to set these private member variables to the passed in. Logger is equal to logger. Okay, so we got our what? Constructor. Okay. So now we want select winning bid asynchronous. So let's all right, let's start this. So public async. Now because we're doing async, we're going to be doing a task like this, and then the method is going to be called select winning bid async, and now bid request like this. And now we need to fill this out. What is this going to be in here? So we are returning what? A bid response, but it could be null. Okay, so what is this going to try to do? This is going to select bid. So now we are trying to find all of the highest bids within the campaign, I think, or the highest campaigns, and then we just randomly select a bid or an ad within that. So the summary is going to be, so we're going to come here and do this. Select winning campaign bid based on bid price and target matching. Okay. So now we are just going to log the information. I'm just going to copy and paste this because it doesn't teach us anything, and okay, it's just logging information. So now we do step 1 is going to be get all the active campaigns from the cache. Okay. So now, what do we want to do? If not all right, so how can we do this? Active campaigns. Do we even declare this? Oh, I missed it actually. Okay. No wonder I was like, wait, where is this coming from? Okay, so we var and then active campaigns is going to be equal to await cache dot get active campaigns asynchronously. And if we actually go and so I'm gonna put you here. Okay. So now if we look at this, let's look at that function. Get campaign. No, so that's not the one we're looking for. Get active campaign asynchronously. Here we go. And now what we want to do. Wait, what? Oh, okay. There. So we're going into our cache. So why specifically the Redis database? Why campaign? Oh, okay, never mind. It's not Redis specifically. I would have done cache dot. No, this is just a, and I don't even have access to Redis, right? Correct, because it's a private variable. Okay, great, awesome. I think I'm understanding this a little bit better. So I don't have access to Redis. I have to go to the service to mediate this interaction, which is exactly what we want. I don't want from my bid selector to be able to go and interact with the Redis database. I want the service to do that, not the bid selector. So I'm just abstracting it away and saying cache. And now I'm doing that get asynchronous. And this one is going to have access to Redis, and it's going to search Redis and see if there's valid cache, and if it is, we're going to return that object. And if not, it's going to go and search the SQL, which I, from my bid selector, also have no access to. I can't access SQL. I have to go to the service to do so. But then it's going to search the SQL, save it to Redis, and then return to me all of the active campaigns. So all I have to do is see about this. And now, if there's none there, then eventually I'm going to have to return probably null, but then log an error. That's going to be my guess. Return null. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So log an error. There we are. So now we have active campaigns. Okay, so step 2 is to filter based on targeting rules. Okay. So let's see what's going on here. So var l equal to new list like this. Question, why do I need those open parentheses right there? Why do I need those at the end? Okay. So while it's doing its thinking, we're going to come back here and now start looking at this for loop. Okay, so for each var campaign inactive campaigns. Okay, so I am going to need to remember this syntax. This is the syntax that I like because it is Python. I like to say for item in iterable. I like doing that. I don't like in C that you have to always just do for like I equals 0 and then comma or semicolon, then the condition, and then comma again, and then I++. I like being able to just iterate through an iterable. I like that syntax. So now this one is for each. So that's the C# equivalent. Good thing C# has that because I like doing that. It's fun. It's a fun way of doing it. Okay, so we have this. And now this campaign is going to be our specific campaign out of all of the active campaigns. Okay. So now we want to check if the campaign can be served, i.e. if budget is available. If available. Okay, so if not campaign dot can doesn't have access to it, can serve. So now what is this can serve? Remember, this is a campaign which is a bid request item, and can serve is one of the members in here, right? Campaign, where is our hold on, this one. So campaign here, and we have status. That's just active. Where is can serve? Here we go. There it is. So it is actually a kind of lambda function that when I call it, it's going to trigger this and say, is the status active? And is our daily budget higher than what we spent today? And is our lifetime budget not null and above our value? So what we're probably going to have to do is, if this returns true, then we're going to add this to a list. And then what we're going to want to do is, once we actually serve the ad, then we are going to have to update these numbers. We're going to have to update daily budget. No, we're going to have to update spent today and lifetime spent. So we're going to have to remember to update both of those. Okay. So now we are here again. So we're just going to log that we found something. Okay. Once again, I am not going to write that out because there's no learning there. And then continue. So then we are going to just go back up to the next campaign. We say, hey, we found one that is, or that we're not allowed to serve. So just go to the next campaign. This one is outside. We've already used up our daily budget for it. Okay, so now, what do we want to do? Check if campaign matches targeting rules. Okay, so if not, I don't remember writing this function. Campaign and request. I'm not sure where this is defined. Okay. So we're probably going to do the exact same thing here, just with different logging information. Yep, and I was right. Okay. There we go. Now, eligible ads, and we add that to a list. We didn't create this one yet. Maybe I... Oh, yes, we did. Okay, sorry. But I felt like I did have a question. Right, this. Where is this mentioned? Is it defined as a method? Yep, it is. Okay. Well, that answers that question. Awesome. So we haven't implemented it, and I was right to be suspicious of it because we haven't implemented it yet. Okay. So we do that, and now we can say, all right, we're done. We have it match it. It is active, number one. This campaign is active. We haven't used the entire allocation of finances in this campaign yet. And it matches the targeting rule. So targeting rule meaning the campaign is trying to specify certain elements. Maybe a campaign rule is that the user has to be below a certain age, or above a certain age, or within a certain age group, or that it has to be a banner ad or something like this. There's some kind of rule, okay? And we say, hey, they match it. If not, we just go to the next campaign. But if it does match, then we can do eligible ads dot add and then campaign. Okay. And now we are done with that for loop. So we iterated. What did we just do? We iterated over all of the the active campaigns. We checked the targeting rules, we checked the finance allocation, and now I have a list called eligible campaigns, which contains all of the campaigns which are eligible. Okay, that's what we have so far. Just trying to keep inventory of what's happening. So now, if we have none, not eligible campaigns dot any. So if there are no eligible campaigns, what do we want to do? Log that it's bad and then return null. Sure, that makes perfect sense to me. Okay. So step 3 is going to be select campaign with highest CPM bid. Okay. Winning campaign is going to be equal to eligible campaigns dot order by descending C, and then it's going to try to give me nonsense. Go. C dot CPM bid. Okay. Out here dot first. Like this. Okay, so what's happening here? Eligible campaigns. This is going to be our list. So it's a list of campaign objects. So I'm going to do order by descending. And I pass into that the CPM bid, so how much each campaign is willing to bid per ad. Okay. Once again, this is something that we're going to probably want to change in the future. Like, we want dynamic CPM bids. For example, let's give an example about this. If let's say that there's a comedy channel, okay? And we're on YouTube. There's a comedy channel, and you're an advertiser. How much are you willing to pay for this chance to advertise on this channel? Well, you'd probably be willing to pay the normal, just baseline ad price, because this comedian or this like comedy channel or news channel or whatever it is, it's not going to have a very targeted audience. It's not going to have an audience which is super passionate about your specific product. Let's say that you sell, I don't know, headphones. Well, okay, it's not extremely matched. Now, let's say that instead of a comedy channel, it is an audiophile, that those people who are like obsessed with getting the absolute highest quality sound and really into just the audio quality. Let's say they're doing a YouTube channel, and now you have a YouTube video which is specific for high quality audio. Now you are the exact same advertiser. You're selling headphones. How much are you willing to bid on that video? Oh, it's going to be a lot higher. You're going to be willing to pay higher than the baseline for an ad because it is targeted. And the quality of the audience is higher because it is more selected for what you are trying to sell. And so all of these different channels and videos and advertisers are going to be willing to pay a different price for different types of videos, determining how targeted they actually are, the video actually is. So that's what I mean by dynamic CPM bid. We might want to go and do that. Now, I also have experience with this, because when I make my YouTube videos, I'm able to actually go in and see each video that I make and what is the CPM, what cost per milli, how much money do I make per 1,000 views, and different videos are going to have different CPM values. And so I'm able to understand this and see, like, okay, that's how this video does, that video does, the other video does, and different topics are going to have different CPM values. And then you have, it's a whole complex thing. So it's not just based off of the video type, it's also the length of the video, the like rate at which views are accumulated. If you have a lot of views really quickly, you're actually, I've noticed that it seems like you have higher everything, like higher conversion rate. You have, for example, if I have 1,000, let's say that I have 5,000 views, but these 5,000 views are spread over 2 weeks. I'll probably maybe get, I don't know, 10 subscribers. But if I have that 5,000 views within one day, so it's a burst of views, I'm not going to get that low conversion rate into subscribers. I'm actually going to get a significantly higher. Maybe like out of a 5,000, I might get 100 or 150 subscribers. So it seems like, and I don't have any quantified evidence of this, but it just seems like burst views are more valuable. Maybe it's because it's a fresh audience. I'm not sure why. It's some observations that I've been making. But, anyways, long way of saying, eventually I want to be able to have this as a dynamic value. But we're not doing that yet. That's in the future. And I noticed that I need to charge my laptop. Okay. There we go. Cool. So we're just grabbing the highest paid CPM of those campaigns. And that's going to be our winning campaign. So then we can just log that. Once again, this is nothing of this, no learning value to write that out. So we're just going to copy and paste it. Step 4 is to select random ad from winning campaign. All right, so let's see how we do that. If, and then we're checking winning campaign dot ads dot any. Okay, so this, I was wondering, wait, why do we need to do this? Because we already verified up here that if there is a eligible like campaign. This one is now saying if the campaign is valid, but there's no ads in there. Now, what they're asking you to do, what they're saying to do is like this. But I actually might argue that this isn't entirely correct. I think what we should do is something like this. We should invalidate that campaign, right? Although we would have to come in here and bid request campaign, this one. We would have to come in here and instead, because we don't want to do status, because this is more, that's more of if it is like finished. But I guess if they don't have an ad, we should have something which says status is dormant or something like this. So it's not out of, it could come back to life is kind of what I'm meaning. But that'll take a little bit more heavy lifting infrastructure. So I'm just gonna say I'm just gonna put my name here and then I can search this later. I should eventually create a new state which is dormant, meaning the campaign is active, but no ads are currently in the campaign. So if that's the case, because what we're going to do is return null, and we just wasted that opportunity. We just wasted the opportunity to serve an ad. Because in this methodology, we just wasted an opportunity to serve an ad to a legitimate customer. So I don't like that. All right, so now what are we going to do? We are going to, okay, so let's just pretend like, okay, fine. We'll fix that later. Selected ad is equal to winning campaign dot ads random dot next winning campaign dot ads dot count like this. Okay, so what are we doing here? Selected ad is we are going to look at the winning ads, winning campaign. So this is a specific campaign. Here. Then I'm going into ads, which is a list of ad objects, okay? And then I am selecting for, so this is going to be, so whenever this is just, think of a normal array. How do you index from an array? You say array and then brackets and then put in an integer value. That's exactly what we're doing here, okay? So what is the array? It is ads. And now here are the brackets to say here's my index. Now this that I'm highlighting is going to evaluate to an integer value. Random.next. Okay. So this random.next, that's just a method call on that object. And what this is going to do is going to create a number probably between 0 and this inputted value, winning campaign.ads count. Okay. And dot ads, which is a list, and list has a member variable called count to tell me how many ads are within this list. So I'm just randomizing an index between 0 and that number. Okay, and then I'm getting that as the selected ad. Makes sense? So now we are able to build a response, okay? Var response is going to be equal to new bid response, like this, okay? So we're creating an object here, and let's figure out what we're going to be doing. Cam ID is equal to winning campaign.id. Ad ID is equal to selected ad, Yeah, because that's the ad that we selected. Dot ID. Okay, bid price is going to be equal to the winning I'm trying not to look. Winning campaign dot bid CPM bid, like this. And now I'll look again. What are we doing? Okay, so now we have, was that correct? Yeah, it was. Okay. Add content is equal to new, like this. So we're doing another object here. Title is equal to selected ad dot title. And I'm going to have to look into, we're going to have to look into this object and try to understand how is this actually working. URL is equal to selected ad dot image URL redirect URL is equal to selected ad dot redirect URL. Then we have the confidence is equal to 0.95. This will need to be updated later to match real targeting metrics. Okay. And we're done now with this. And then we can just return that response. Okay. Response. Like this. All right, so I said that we were going to look into this. So let's try to figure out how we're doing this. So can you explain exactly how this object is mapped into, come on, the correct form for the database and all operations? I'm going to take a couple seconds to take a breath. Okay. All right, let's walk through what's happening here because there are a few layers. Yeah, like object creation in C#, entity frameworks mapping to SQL, and how / when it actually touches the database. Okay. So this is what we wrote just now. So I'm creating this response, which is an object, which has an embedded object within it. Add content is going to be, okay, so I am creating a bid response. So let me come here. I'm creating this. Okay. This is what I'm creating. So I am campaign ID is equal to the exact same thing. So the other thing that I'm a little bit shaky in my confidence of is the capitalizations, because campaign ID does not actually match up with campaign ID within the SQL database table. But the way Entity Framework works is that it kind of discards looking at capitalizations, which, okay, fine. And then it also takes out the dashes, like CPM dash bid or whatever. So it would just be CPM bid. So that's how Entity Framework does the mappings. But here to here, this isn't dealing with Entity Framework. This is just C#. So those two variable names do need to actually match up, and they do. And I put in the ID, okay? I put in an integer, which is the winning ads ID, or it's the winning campaigns ID. The add, then add content. Okay, so now for add content, I need to create an object of type add content, which is what I do. I say add content. I'm going to create a new object of type add content, and here it is. It's right here. So then I put the title and the URL and the redirect URL. So I put all three of those there. Okay. So I do that, and now I say, okay, great, I got this one. Next one is I put in the, wait, where's bid price? Here. So we did that kind of out of order, but that's fine. That doesn't matter at all. Confidence, we put in a double. So there we go. We kind of got that. The other question that I'm going to have is within here. Okay. I might have to go up and just relook at that. So I have this, and then I have this here, okay? And now I want to ask if add content is a class, why am I allowed to create an object by doing new and then brackets? Wouldn't I need to say how would I do this? Add content. Add is equal to new, and then like this, and then those parameters. Like, and also, wait, hold on. Add content. So these numbers are the same though, right? Or the bid request here, add content. Yeah, these are the same. It's not. And also, these are the exact same characters. The class type is the same as the variable type, as the variable name. How does confusion not arise in the compiler? Okay, so we're gonna type enter, and then we need to come back up to this location. So that way we don't kind of lose it, because we typed out something and then we realized, oh, we have actually more questions. Okay, so now we'll come back up to here and look at this. This is where we were. It is time for another coffee break. Okay, so you're creating a new instance of bid response class. Okay, you're using object initializer syntax. Oh my goodness, it just feels like this definitely is a very deep language insofar as it has a lot of very custom syntactical candy or just like tricks that you are able to employ, that it trying to keep all of these things straight in your head is very kind of difficult, because it's like so many different things with each like version of the .NET framework changing. It's like, oh, okay, wow, there actually were a lot of changes which were made. Okay, so now this is object initializer syntax. Instead of calling a constructor, okay, well, actually, I should have read this a little bit more before I typed that second question. Instead of calling a constructor and then setting properties one by one, you set them in line, okay? Inside it, you also create a nested object called add content with its own properties. At this point, response is a plain C# object in memory. Nothing has been written to the database. Okay, understood. Understood. So we just have a plain object. Second thing, how Entity Framework maps this object to the database. Entity Framework core uses entity classes, so bid response, add content, etc., that are mapped to SQL databases via conventions like property names mapped to, okay, ID is a primary key, attributes like key, foreign key, Fluent API. Entity Framework knows bid response ID and column in bid responses table. This is a column in bid response table as well. So it's the campaign ID within the bid response and the ad ID within bid response. This is either a separate table, add contents, with a foreign key back to bid responses if modeled as an entity, or an owned type stored inline as columns in the bid response table if configured that way. So it just knows that add content has a foreign key and therefore it's modeled in a different database or different table. Okay, fine. Operations to persist it. And so we've already kind of done this in the services, but creating the object alone does not save it. To persist, we need to save changes asynchronously. Okay, so we add it and then do that. So the .add tells Entity Framework, track this new entity. It should be inserted. EF marks it with state add in its change tracker, okay? And then it creates the appropriate statements, executes the database, and there we go. Okay, fine. So now I asked about this. Why can I write new with the parentheses instead of the constructor? So in C#, classes have constructor method that run when you call new. If you don't define any constructor, the compiler gives you a default parameterless constructor. Okay, this means you can write like that, but C# has object initializer syntax, which is what we're doing here. This syntax calls the default constructor. Okay, so add content, then immediately sets the properties here. Oh, okay. Object. Now that makes sense. This is the way that I would have normally done it if I didn't use the constructor, right? You just do object.titles. Okay, okay. Okay, got it. Good. So we have matching campaigns here. Bid engine service, budget service. Okay. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break right now, and then I'm going to come back in a little bit, probably maybe an hour or 2 hours, whatever it is. I'm going to come back, and we are going to start working on this matches targeting rules, and then just keep going on this project. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, subscribe. I would love to have you along on this journey. We're going to keep going hard and keep moving forward on this project. I think it's fun. I'm really enjoying this project. So yeah, if you want to subscribe, that would be great. My name is Timothy Lee Grant, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.